Hey buddy, I'm back. Sorry for that, the battery kind of died on me. It only gave me basically about 15 minutes worth, just about, almost 10, about 9 seconds less of 15 minutes worth of life. Now, what was I? Oh yeah, I just scored the head part of the head section of the story according to Drazen. Now, like I've said in his previous reviews, if you get a 30 out of, if you get 10 points, basically you get a 10 out of, in all three categories, head, art, and heart, if you will. Head, artistic style, eye style, if you will, eye score, basically art style, and heart score. If you get a 10 out of all of those, that's 30. That's a perfect issue if it's just one story in the issue. If it's two stories, one main story and a backup, and you get 10 in all three categories, or for both stories, that's a 60. So basically, if it's a backup story you got in there, you get a 60 point. And it's got, basically, like I said, if the main story is all 10s in all three categories, and the same with the backstory, that's 60. If it's just one main story, it's 30. So right now he gave the head of the story, the main portion of the story, or the main reason for the story, or whatever you want to call it, a 7. Now for the eye score, the artistic score. Well, actually, I didn't say what the head score was I? I'm sorry about that. I kind of blanked out for a second. I was reading the thing. But the head score he gave was a 7. Now the eye score is this. And this is what he says about the eye score, about the eye section, the artistic part of it. This is what he says. The final panel is easily the most impressive. Sure, you've got the death trap sequence and Larry's vertical fall, and the layouts are vintage Yardling, but the fiend fire at the end is a real standout. I score 10. So far, 17. 7 on the head score for the main story, and 10 for artistic style. Now we get to the heart. And this is a big one. This is what he says, quote unquote. Val is one of those multiply pronounced, Val, quote unquote Val, is one of those multiple pronunciation names. Is one of those multiple pronunciation names. Obviously, there's a vowel. Obviously, there's vowel that's pronounced like vile. Like quote unquote vile. And there's the Latinized pronunciation, or Latinized pronunciation, which would be wile, or wale. Wale. But it's the concept of the fourth elite that is interesting. In Jim Henson's, quote-unquote, The Dark Crystal, we were set up to see the mystics as the good guys and the Skeksis as the bad guys in yet another epic fantasy. The healing of the terrestrial crystal was the MacGuffin which drove the plot and gave work to the two main characters, the Grifflins, Jean and Kari, or Jean and Kari. The healing of the terrestrial crystal was the MacGuffin which drove the plot and gave work to the main characters, the Grifflins, Jen and Kari, or Karai, Jen and Karai, or whatever you want to call it. The conclusion, however, featured not the vanquishing of the Skeksis, but the physical union with the mystics. The quote-unquote, the two made one, as it said in the inevitable prophecy. I'm holding back from looking at the other three parts of the story arc because I want to see whether Val is going to be a game changer who will alter August, or just an amplifier who will only make him more so than he is today. I sincerely hope for the former. The Psychonagus with the schizo tabernacle choir living in his head is more interesting than most comic book villains. But he hasn't been getting anything of a full workout lately. And so far, the Secret Freedom Fighters are something of a disappointment. It's sad when a Metal Sonic variation is one of the most interesting characters. It's sad when a Metal Sonic variation is the most interesting character in the bunch. Silver and Jeff are the same old, same old. And at this point, Larry is just weapons grade buffoonery. It's a passable comic book story, which is pretty sad because that bar has always been set pretty low. Heart score 2. So basically he got a 19 overall out of 30. Now, a 30 out of 30 is like an A+. A 25 out of a 30 would be a B+. So you're probably looking at an average C, C- here. Yeah, about that. Because if he would have gotten 15, that would have been a D, and if he would have gotten a little less than a 15, it would have been worse. And we've seen that happen already. Now I will provide a link below to let you guys see what I'm talking about. But again, this is just Dan Drazen's review on it. I mean, he's a guy that's in his early 60s, believe it or not. You know, and I know that kind of might be a surprise to a lot of people, but you know what? If a guy this age could do this, why get on him about it, folks? You know? Why say anything bad about it? I mean, this guy, basically, as I've said before, takes time out of his schedule to do this. Anyway, basically, he basically, with the score he gave there, which was a 19 out of 30, which in a sense is like around a C average. That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. I mean, you can't take anything away from you know what they're trying to do with it. Now I'm pretty sure as he gets further on in the story, from what I've read through summaries and from what people have talked about, you know, we may get more development. He may see more development. He may give it a better score. But the truth is, folks, only time will tell. Now, I know the next review I'll probably read of his, it will be 238. So, that's really all I could say about it. Overall, like I said, basically, like I said and read, Dan Drazen gives it a 19 out of 30, basically a C average, passable. And let's just see if they can up the ante overall on it and see what happens. But that's all I'm going to say on it. Comment down below, let me know what you guys think. And I'll talk to y'all later. I'm going to let this camera charge for a little while longer. Comments are welcomed as well.